It's Wednesday, September 27th, 2017. It's time for WorthPoint Chats with Harry Rinker. I'm Greg Watkins from WorthPoint.com, and it's time for our weekly conversation with our expert on all things antiques and collectibles, Harry Rinker. Harry, how are you doing tonight?
I'm hot. I know I'm hot. I mean, I'm hot anyway as a guy, but no, that aside.
You're wearing a sweater.
Well, that's because when they designed our home here in Michigan, they only put a thermostat upstairs. And we have big windows in the back that the west sun comes in and heats up the upstairs. So it drives the thermostat up, and the thermostat has to push out air conditioning to keep it there. But in the basement, which is semi-underground, you wear winter clothing in the summer so you can survive down here.
Okay.
But
so, yeah,
but
extremes.
It's an interesting time. We were down in Florida this past weekend, and it was hotter in Florida, or it was hotter in Michigan than it was in Florida. In fact, it is so hot that they have canceled.
How hot is it?
Oh, yes. Thank you, sir. I was waiting for that. It was over 90 degrees, which if you live in Atlanta, I admit does not sound hot.
Or maybe, yeah, but for Michigan, that's hot.
Yes, okay. Well, it has resulted in the closing of schools in Michigan, throughout Michigan.
Yes.
Because schools have no air conditioning.
Right.
Now, I realize that this is a main conversation and has little to do with antiques and collectibles, except that a lot of the schools around are antique schools. So what is the condition of the schools in Georgia? Are they air conditioned?
Yes.
Yes. So you don't care.
All the new schools are air conditioned, and my trailer has an air conditioner.
You're teaching in a trailer?
I am in a trailer. Yes. New guy gets the not great.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of trailers, how about if we go there? Old-time trailers are getting to be extremely collectible again.
Yeah, like the Airstreams?
Well, not just but yeah, Airstream and Airstream type trailers. Yeah. You know, apparently there's mini house movement.
Yes, tiny houses.
Well, tiny, mini, whatever the hell you want to call it. House movement has had an impact on people camping as well. And so they have decided that these big bus-like motorhomes with 3 walls that extend outward and cost $300,000 and get 6 miles to the gallon may not be the most fun and convenient way to travel. And so there's a growing market for these smaller campers. And actually they're making new ones. A friend of mine bought one. I forget what brand it is. He calls it the Gizmo. But it's a tiny little thing. He pulls it behind. It's not like it fits on the back of a truck or so. He pulls it behind the car, and they are into this mini camping, right?
Right.
Or tiny house camping, or whatever the heck it is. But then again, you know, I'm hoping, well, I'm certain, I'm not hoping, I'm certain that this mini house movement is a craze. Because how do you collect anything if you live in a mini house or a tiny house or whatever kind of?
You can't collect anything, but that gets back to the point, are people collecting anything?
On the other hand, if you're a guy, it's really great because there's so little closet space, so one can't spend a lot of money on clothes and shoes either.
No, they still can. You just have to figure out where you're going to stuff it all. You
have to put it in a storage shed or what? Doesn't that defeat the purpose of the tiny house?
Buys it. Storing it's your problem. You've got to figure out where to put it.
Well, it all came about because my honorary niece is dating a boyfriend who is building a tiny house.
Okay.
And she thinks it's neat, and I think she's out of her mind. But you know, when you look at
each their own,
I keep thinking when we chalk up the things that have led to the demise of collecting in the 21st century, is tiny house going to be on a list?
Probably.
No. You think?
Well, you just made an argument that people won't be able to collect while living in tiny houses.
You know, well, as far as I'm concerned, this whole concept of the tiny house if you go look at some of the size of condos that people live in, they have tiny houses. They're just on individual properties.
Right.
Right. And when you go visit your friends in New York who live in an 800 square foot apartment, they're paying $12,000 a month to rent. It's the same like living in a tiny house too.
Also true.
Right.
But there's a reason that you can't understand it for your life is because you used to live in a school.
Yes, 14,000 square feet. It was
14,000 square feet. Yeah.
I am enormously cramped with 2,800 square feet here.
I can't imagine how you did it and squeezed it all.
Well, tonight was a bad night because the missus came downstairs, asked me a question, and saw that the piles were starting to creep away from my desk area into other parts of the basement.
Uh-oh.
And I have been given some I'm not living with this mess orders, except that when we examined the pile, 2/3 of it was her stuff. So I got a little bit off the hook.
Okay.
Well, no, it is hard to throw things out. I mean, it is hard for collectors or anybody to throw things out. And there rests a lot of the problems too, because, so many of the things are memory driven, or it's almost like you're afraid if you sell it, you'll miss it. On the other hand, once you sell it, surprise, surprise, you don't miss it. I mean, I sold off my big jigsaw puzzle collection.
Yes, and you were not happy about it.
Well, I wasn't happy that I did it, but I'll tell you what, I don't miss them. I mean, I remember certain puzzles with fondness, but the fact that I don't own them doesn't weigh on me that hard. I did buy a couple. I kept a couple, and I bought some additional ones, and I have enough to keep me busy. But I took one down to Florida in June to do it, and it's still not done. In the old days, man, I'd have been through that puzzle in 24 hours. So I'm beginning to think I'm being de-puzzled. In fact, that's where you wonder if there are institutes and psychological places you can take collectors to walk them down from the abyss of sorts. Well, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I mean, I'm not about to start that practice. I don't want to be forced to tell somebody to do something I wouldn't do, and I certainly wouldn't do that.
Well, and do you want to have a entity out there that is taking people away from being a collector? That's happening naturally on their own. So,
we're still going through a lot of this conversation about are the millennials collecting things or not. Now, the problem is that we don't understand that there's a generation behind the millennials. The millennials are not young.
Right.
The millennials are in their 40s, right? And 50s, late 30s through the 40s and early 50s. That means that there's a generation in their 20s and late and early 30s that are not millennials, that think even differently than they do. And that's a generation that's probably going to have a greater impact on the antiques and collectibles trade than the millennials. Now, the question is, what do you call it? Now, there are some labels for it already, but I call it, what term do I use for it? Not the me generation. I'm trying to remember what it is. But it's a generation we have to get a handle on because it thinks differently than the millennials. Seriously, it does. It is much more adventure focused. That is
the experience and not the thing.
Yes, the experience is everything, actually. And,
right,
and
but they don't need to buy something and bring it back with them. They just
no. It's not just that the experience is everything, but it's also personal. Okay?
Yeah.
It's also personal. In other words, they're willing to spend their life and money on things that mean something to them and to nobody else And then when that meaning changes, or they get some new toy or some new meaning, they're just willing to discard it. It doesn't stick around the way things used to stick around, which is fascinating. Actually, I wanted to also talk about, there's a new book out by Eric Bradley, published by Krause Books. I'm going to hold it up. I always like titles. The Unofficial Guide to the Collectibles of Our Favorite Wizard, Harry Potter. We now have a collecting list for Harry Potter stuff, right?
Okay, I was unaware of that, but
well, you're not unaware of it any longer.
No, so, I've learned something tonight.
Harry Potter stuff has not quite stood the Rinker 30 years rule. For the first 30 years of anything's life, all its value is speculative. Although I don't know if you heard the other day that a first signed edition of a Rawlings book brought over $100,000.
I did not see that.
Without the dust jacket, yet no less.
Wow.
Yes, it is a little frightening. But Rinker's 30 years rule is for the first 30 years of anything's life, all its value is speculative. So I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but you could do a quick internet search for me. The first Harry Potter movie came out how long ago? Not even 20 years. Has it been 20 years?
No, it would have been, I think it was 99? No, the books, Harry Potter movie, 2002, maybe? I don't remember.
Come on, whip that computer of yours into play here, and let's get the right answer for that. So, let's suppose it's 2002, right? And the first book was some years before that, right?
Yeah, 2001.
2001. So that's 16 years ago. Not even halfway up to Rinker's 30 years rule, right?
Right.
And let's see if we have the uncorrected proofs of the book here. I don't see. Oh wait, here it is. 1999 was the first book. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So if we're going to start seeing books in Harry Potter collectibles, okay, how do we interpret them? How do we interpret the subject matter? Is this just speculative stuff? Because this got prices in it. Is this just speculative, or what is it? And what's interesting about this book is that Eric Bradley works for, strangely enough, Heritage Auctions. And Heritage Auctions is selling a lot of the stuff because movie memorabilia, in order to be collectible, does not have to weather the test of time very long. The minute Disney found they could sell the production cells for a movie, they were being sold within a year or two after the movie was released, right?
Yeah.
Now, what happens is that all of a sudden, when we deal with phenomena that have television shows or movies, we now have to divide that into two very distinct groups. One, licensed product, and two, product used to produce the film or the TV series, right?
Yes.
Films and stage equipment and this and that.
The props.
Props, yeah, because that's what people seem to be willing to spend big money on. And yet, it's not like Dorothy's slippers, which have changed hands enough times and are really considered iconic classics of the movie, as is, for example, the Maltese Falcon statue. But, a Roy Rogers shirt, who will care in 40 years? I don't know who's going to buy Trigger for more than $275,000, 25 years stuffed or not stuffed. But then his hair, of course, his hair should be falling out. I assume.
Yeah, that's going to be one ratty horse
I would think so. But it raises a really significant question, really, about, what should you or should you not be doing? What is the momentary value of any of this? I think one of the more interesting, fascinating things for me was that there was no jump in Princess Di stuff when the 20th anniversary came over. I watched the stuff on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have thought, I have this theory called a celebrity bounce, when some celebrities out doing something, there's a real bounce in their stuff. And you know it. Now, it's not. There was a huge bounce after she died. It lasted almost 6 months, one of the longest celebrity bounces I ever recorded. But the truth of the matter is that this time, nothing happened. And there's still enough people around that remember her. And yet nobody seems to give a crap about her memorabilia anymore. Which I think, except for some of the dresses she wore and some of the one-of-a-kind stuff. So, you know, well, what can you say? Who wants a coffee mug of Princess Diane Chuck?
I don't know.
Oh, by the way, you can't call them. You can call them that, but they can't call them that. I did read a list of things that govern the rules of the royalty in England. Now, I wonder what this has to do with the collectibles, but it's really funny. First of all, the Queen must always be dressed in bright colors so she could be found in any crowd. Now, my wife says that's a security ploy that lets everyone know who she is. Okay, she's like a beacon.
Mm-hmm.
When the royal family travels now, they have to carry an appropriate funeral outfit with them in case she drops over dead. Now, that's just really, unusual, I suppose. But there are no nicknames in the British royal family. I mean, it forbids it.
Really?
So, yes. So Princess Kate is Catherine.
What about Harry?
So I'm sure Charles is Charles. I'm sure Harry is Henry, or whatever he is. But no nicknames in the palace. Furthermore, I love this one. If you're visiting with the Queen at a dinner and the Queen stops eating, you must stop eating whether you're done or not. So I suppose the Queen has learned to eat very slowly to make everybody happy. I don't know. But the Queen is not like garlic, so there's no garlic served in food when the Queen is present. You may wonder, again, what all this has to do with collecting. But let's just call it collecting.
You get there eventually.
No. It's just collecting weird things, weird, strange things. But at least we know about those things. Which brings us around. You wonder about this transition. Your love is, which brings us around to the first item we want to talk about tonight. One of our viewers sent in this picture. You going to run it up here for me?
I'm going to run it up here for you.
You know which one I want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what this is this is a silk cut in this shape on a backing. Okay. It was sold in a box, a lot of textiles for $25. Okay. So the guy bought it and sent it in. And here, and in the middle of now it was folded. Now, here's a great example of what shouldn't be done. This was folded, and you see in the center where the folds meet, the silk separated.
Yes.
Right?
Right along there.
Right along there, right. So he wrote it and said, what do I have, right? So here's a Cooper making a Cooper barrel, and there's a Cooper on the other side. It says, united we stand, divided we fall. Okay? So what would be the obvious conclusion about dating this?
Well, probably 1860 if we're thinking Civil War.
Civil War, and that's what he thought. And I don't think he's right. Because why? Oh, okay, united we stand, divided we fall was a slogan that was around in the Civil War, but hardly a major one. Okay? I mean, you didn't have the Union troops running across the battlefield yelling, united we stand, divided we fall. Right?
No, I don't think they were.
Nor did you have the Southern forces doing that either.
Right.
Well, it has that feature. Let's go back and look at the image as a whole. This is what I love about research, okay? Let's look at the image as a whole. Back again. What is it? What is it? Does it remind you of anything?
Well, it looks like an apron.
Yes, that's right. And so the first question I asked the guy was, is there evidence at the top corners that there was once a red band? The band on the side continued around. And look, there it is, right?
Yep.
And it's definitely an apron, okay? Now, what kind of groups used aprons?
Well, the Cooper right here is wearing an apron. But
well, yeah, that's a working apron. But
Yeah.
I'm talking about ceremonial aprons.
Mason.
Masons, that's right. So if you go up on the Worthopedia, which I did, and type in Masonic aprons or fraternal aprons, you get some interesting pictures. Okay, which you're going to do now as we talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and there are Masonic aprons. And they were not the only fraternal group that used aprons. And some of these are new, some are older.
Yeah.
But no, wait a minute. But there. Look at the picture of President George somebody or other there. Who was that? Was that Washington? No, go up to row 2 on the left, on the right.
This one?
George Washington with his Masonic apron on, right?
Yes.
And there it is. It looks just like that, or of that ilk, right?
Yeah.
Well, this idea of aprons representing fraternal groups, and remember, a lot of fraternal groups or organizational groups were organized because there was no insurance plans. And so they would get together and organize and then put money into a pot. And if one of them died and there was money for the widow and the family and that type of thing, right? Now, the thing about it is, if you type occupational aprons, you don't get occupational aprons. You get up a whole bunch of aprons that are more like workman aprons, like the ones that the guys are wearing, as opposed to what we're looking for, right?
Right.
So there you see pictures of all the guys, butchers and bakers and candlestick makers and everybody else wearing aprons, and you don't find what we want. So let's go back to the picture again. Okay, so I say to myself, there must have been an organization of Coopers somewhere.
Yes.
Nationally, whatever. Now, I tried researching that. I couldn't find anything. Then there was one of the most famous places, Cooper's Union in New York. Well, it turns out that Cooper's Union actually is a building built by a gentleman named Cooper to train workmen. Okay, so you won't find anything going on there. All right.
Okay.
So the question is, what do we have? Well, I think we have a mid to late 19th century organizational apron. All right. Well,
yeah.
it relates to some group of Coopers, in there. And it may have been there to fight like unionism. If we don't stand together to protect our rates and so forth, we'll fall. Now, could it be Civil War related? It could be, but the problem is, where is the relationship Civil War wise between Coopers and the war? Okay.
Well, they need a barrel. That's about the only thing I can think of.
Well, but they needed barrels, but I'm not sure why. So the question is, where do you go from here? Well, what I recommended to the fellow was that he do several things. First, that he approach of all. It seems strange, but the New York Historical Society, the City of New York, not the New York Historical Society in Cooperstown, but the City of New York Historical Society has a heck of a collection of this type of thing. I suggested I suggested they contact Winterthur Museum in Winterthur, Delaware, to see if they have anything that remotely resembles this in their collection. And the Hagley Eleutherine Mills development, that's a historic site for the DuPont powder mill. But in reality, what it is it's really the finest industrial museum archives we have in the United States. And if this is all industrial related, they'll know about it. So I've asked the guy to do that. I'm waiting to see what he finds. But the question is, he doesn't have $5 in it, okay? And so I, of course, offered to pay him 10. He told me to go to heck. But what is it worth if it's right? It's got to be worth. You're jumping ahead of things here.
Yeah, sorry.
It's got to be worth. But I'll come transition to that now that you've done that. It's got to be worth a couple $100, I think. Just as a curiosity. Although I don't know how many people would pay that. I think there's plenty of people that would pay $50, a fair number that might pay 75 to 100, but who will pay 200? I have no idea. I'm not one of them, so I can't speak to that. But we go from something we know nothing about except to speculate to something we know a lot about. Got another letter in from somebody who sent a picture of this turquoise bracelet. Very, very interesting one. And what's nice about this, now he sent it to me. He says, I don't know what it is. Is it Zuni or Navajo or whatever it is? And it's clearly, I'm almost certain, Navajo. But on the back of it, it's marked. And he said, Indian turquoise jewelry is hot. And I wrote him back and said, no, it's not. What's hot is signed Indian turquoise jewelry, because they imported so much crap in the 50s and 60s and 70s from the Philippines and other places. In fact, one town in the Philippines changed its name to Zuni so it could sell Zuni jewelry in the United States that looked like Indian jewelry. The Native Americans went through the roof and finally stopped it. But anyway, this one is marked Fred
Guerra.
And I have actually a directory of Navajo and Zuni silver makers. I meant to look him up. But meanwhile, you looked him up on the Worthopedia and found a number of examples, right?
Yes, there are 22 items listed as Fred Guerra turquoise jewelry.
All right, now let's look at the first one. Okay, the first one there on the top left. All right, sterling silver ring. That's not a bracelet. Sold for $44, right?
Right.
All right. Do we have any bracelets in the collection on the Worthopedia?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's one on the right there. That one sold for $33.39, right?
Right.
And silver turquoise cuff bracelet. Okay, but nowhere near as nice or as elaborate as the one we have, right?
Right. So let's keep looking.
Doesn't look like an early work either. So let's keep going, see what else we can find. There's that wrist one. Check the one on the wrist there. What did that sell for?
This one here? Yeah. I think it's a ring.
Oh, it's a ring. Sorry. Yeah. Well, if one looked at these prices, one might get the opinion that this guy's stuff doesn't bring a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but I hate to say this, but WorthPoint is not the only place to look. Okay, you can go up on eBay and Pinterest and other places, and I did, and I found bracelets in the $100 to $200 range. All right.
Yeah.
So let's go back and look at this bracelet and say, okay, if you have bracelets selling in the $100 to $200 range, what questions do you want to ask about this bracelet to see where its value rests? Because that's another thing about when you're evaluating things, is you want to say, what are the pluses and minuses of the piece? Okay, what are the pluses of the piece? It's a nice piece of turquoise.
Yeah, it's nice. It's big. The turquoise is
well, that's good too. That's good size, right? That's a point well taken.
The rock is bigger than the thumb.
Exactly. And it's also a nice piece of turquoise. It's not a lot of that crappier solid color turquoise that's dyed and other things that seem to have been used in some of his jewelry, all right? That's the first plus. Notice the finely decorated mount around the stone.
The serrated.
Yeah, with the beadwork and that type of thing, right? And so you have the quality of the stone and the quality of the workmanship. There's also another question you want to ask. This fellow worked for a long time, okay? And clearly his styles changed over time as he got more commercial and wanted to appeal to the general public, all right? So the question is, does one value his later work differently than his earlier work? Well, the answer is obviously yes, okay? And judging from everything I've seen on WorthPoint and on the net, this is better quality than 90% of the stuff I'm seeing or saw. So my assumption is that this is a nice early piece of his work. Good size stone, wonderful workmanship, far more intricate design than anything we saw. right?
Yes.
So I like it in the $200, $250 range or more. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, and I think these are the criteria. You know, price, determining a price or whatever, a fair market retail price. You can't say it's determined by one thing. In most objects, well, you have condition, scarcity, desirability, the big three. But there are only three. Quality of workmanship, stone in this particular case, are important. Form, is a bracelet more desirable than a ring? In most cases, yes, certainly more desirable than some of those brooches we saw on the net, right?
Yeah. And then when did the artist make it? Early in his career, late in his career?
Absolutely. And, you know, is it representative or is it a departure for him? And if it's a departure, it might be worth a little bit less as opposed to that. But I will do some, I'm planning to do some more homework on that next week, so I will probably be able to talk even more intelligently about that. Not that we haven't talked intelligently about it thus far. Well, here we are. We have spent our time available tonight, and surprisingly enough, cool that it once was down here, as I'm sitting under the hot lights in my sweater at my desk, I'm starting to sweat.
Well, time to go back down to the basement.
This session's over. Yes, no. No.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we forgot to put up on the screen, which we will do. We would like to talk about objects that you have that you're interested in having us do, or if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss, send us an email to community@worthpoint.com. Community@worthpoint.com. When you're sending information about an object, please be descriptive as possible. Size, markings, how you acquired it, how much you paid for it. All that information is good information. And several pictures. Now, we only had 2 pictures of the bracelet, but they were at least good ones. And I always tell people, put something in there that determines the size, or we could look at the guy's finger. So hopefully he doesn't, if he had a big fat finger, it was a bigger stone. If you had a thin finger.
Right.
Whatever we can do there. All right?
All right.
We will do this next time, and when we do this, I will be another year older. Well, that's not really true.
That's right.
Your
birthday's coming up.
I will have started another year. Yes, I always add a year to my birthday, which drives people nuts. But if I'm going to be 76, I'm ending my 76th year, and I'm starting my 77th year. So if people say, how old are you? And I'm in my 77th year, why am I not 77? Until I end that year, and then I'm 78.
Okay, that works.
Well, you know, I've tried my best not to allow the system to standardize me. And age doesn't embarrass me, so it's perfectly all right.
Right.
All right, sir.
Okay, Harry. Until next week, we'll say good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night.